Tonight, wild winds bring down trees and cancel flights as a cold snap brings March snow to the Alps.
Calls for the fuel tax to be halved immediately as oil production ramps up in Geelong.
Hundreds of litres of diesel pinched from farmers trying to rebuild after January's fires.
Kyle Sandilands storms into court fighting for his $100 million.
The fugitive found hiding in a Carrum Downs shopping centre bin.
And the AFL admits it got it wrong on a costly last-touch clanger at Cardinia Park.
This is Melbourne's 9 News with Alicia Loxley and Tom Steinfort.
Good evening. Melbourne's bitter cold snap is causing havoc with high winds and heavy rain battering the city.
More than 40 flights in and out of Melbourne Airport have been cancelled tonight and Julia Passarelli is there for us. Julia, passengers are going nowhere.
They aren't, Tom. As a result of that severe weather in Sydney, Sydney Airport is only operating on one runway. So there's been delays as well as dozens of flight cancellations. 21 Qantas, Virgin and Jetstar flights to Sydney from here at Melbourne Airport have been cancelled today, along with 20 arrivals. Qantas is adding additional flights tomorrow to re-accommodate passengers who weren't able to travel today. The wild weather has caused havoc across Victoria today. Since midday yesterday, the SES have received 430 calls for help. Most of them have been for building damage or trees down. Kilmore was one of the worst areas hit, but residents all across the city have been impacted, with trees falling on people's properties in Kew.
A loud crunching noise, bit of a crash and a bang. Horrific. It's ruined our fence and there was trees and leaves everywhere.
The unseasonably cold and gusty conditions brought the state's first snowflakes of the year in Mount Hotham. Temperatures there plummeted below zero and 15 centimetres of fresh snow covered the ground. As for here at Melbourne Airport, there will still be frustration for passengers into the night, but thankfully conditions will slightly improve tomorrow.
All right, Julia, thank you.
The federal opposition wants the fuel tax temporarily halved, saving motorists 26 cents a litre. But the government isn't keen, instead attempting to shore up supply from our Asian neighbours, using Australian gas exports as the bait. National Affairs Editor Andrew Probyn.
In a time of crisis, this Liberal leader can hold a hose and he's willing to use it.
$3.19 at the Bowser right here.
Well, not quite, Angus, but in any case he wants to make it cheaper, suggesting the government immediately halve the tax on fuel.
26 cents a litre off at the Bowser for all hard-working Australians.
This will be a huge relief for our transport industry.
Which isn't what Bridget McKenzie was saying yesterday.
A simple cut to fuel excise won't help our transport industry at all.
I think it's good politics but lousy economics. Once you start these kinds of subsidies, it's incredibly hard to stop them.
Not cheap either, although the coalition proposes scrapping the electric vehicle subsidy to pay for it.
I don't think there's anyone out there today who has bought an electric vehicle who's regretting the decision.
National Cabinet meets on Monday, the Premiers and Prime Minister, to coordinate a response to fuel shortages. Australia's 2 remaining oil refineries have cranked up around-the-clock production for supply to the regions.
Right from the get-go, from the start of the month, we just swung to maximum diesel production here at Geelong.
The government is attempting to shore up longer-term supply by leveraging Australia's gas exports, especially among existing clients who normally get a lot of their LNG from the Middle East.
Malaysia's gas supply from Qatar has been indefinitely interrupted by the war, but has struck a deal with Tehran to get its oil tankers through the Strait of Hormuz.
I would like to thank the President of Iran for granting early passage.
9 News understands Australia is offering to increase LNG exports to Malaysia in exchange for refined fuel. The PM saying regional diplomacy has its benefits.
Those relationships mean that at a time like this you can just pick up the phone.
Andrew Probyn, 9 News.
2 sheep farmers in Victoria's northeast who lost almost half their flock in the January fires have been cruelly targeted by fuel thieves. Sarah and Ross Thompson have had 500 litres siphoned from their tank, hampering recovery efforts on the property. Edward Godfrey has more.
Sarah Thompson knows how tough life on the land is. In more than 40 years running a sheep farm, she and husband Ross have seen it all, but not this.
It's the low life, I called them, and I called them a lot worse than that.
Thieves trespassing on their roughy property and siphoning 500 litres of fuel. Fuel they need to run the farm and restore 18 kilometres of fencing they lost in the January fires.
The boundary fence is burnt onto the road. You know, we can put a chain around the front gate, but that's only going to stop an honest person.
A kick in the guts after losing more than 1,800 sheep, and at a time where it's becoming harder to get fuel in the regions.
They've stolen our fuel, but they've also stolen our ability to rebuild this farm.
Sarah has contacted neighbours around here to alert them about the theft. She's also reported it to police, but says it's not so much about the financial hit. It's about trying to protect others who've also been through so much in recent months from being targeted too. This is just one part of regional Victoria feeling the shockwaves caused by a war half a world away. Dave McComb runs a fuel distribution business from Euroa.
Weekly, we'll pick up anywhere between 75 and 100,000 litres. This week, we haven't picked up a litre out of Melbourne. Rang them up and they said, no, that allocation's gone.
He says independents are being left high and dry.
By the major oil companies, there's no transparency in what's happening.
Those who can transport goods are charging extra for it. The local IGA isn't passing those costs on yet.
Some freight operators 25% surcharge, others are putting price per kilo on meat and that sort of things.
But will need to soon. The result of a conflict everyone's paying for.
I think we've been hung out to dry, and I don't think those in government, federally or state, understand regional Australia runs on the fuel.
In Ruffy, Edward Godfrey, 9 News.
The Premier, meanwhile, has made the trip to Corio to visit the refinery for a briefing on oil supplies being shipped into Victoria. The opposition leader also spent the day in Geelong as campaigning gathers pace ahead of November's election. State political reporter Heidi Murphy.
Braving the weather with an honour guard of mostly local MPs, the Labor leader reassured there's more than enough supply.
They've upped by 2 shipments the number of shipments that will be coming in here over the coming weeks, just as a prudent measure from the company.
The company's CEO with a simple message.
The crude oil that we process here is not dependent on the Middle East. We take crude oil from much closer to home, and those supply lines are strong and intact.
For the Liberal leader, a bare paddock in West Geelong, her backdrop for a complaint about building delays.
12 years ago, this area was designated as the largest urban renewal project in regional Victoria, and yet we're standing here with not one single home built.
Victoria's second biggest city, always a magnet for big promises.
It's good to have you in Geelong, particularly when you bring the chequebook. Have you got the chequebook today?
Good. Well, let's get started on the niceties first.
Both leaders guests at a business lunch at Cardinia Park. One questioned on the absence of players for her team.
When are we going to see some Liberal candidates in the field down here?
Very soon. The other quick to tell the gathering she understands the pain of the global oil crisis.
And the pressure it's putting on families and households and businesses and industry.
The state government is bracing for a massive oil shock of its own in May's budget. But regardless of how big the cost increases get, the Treasurer is adamant she'll have a surplus.
We will be the only state on the eastern seaboard to do so. I'll be very proud to deliver that for the Victorian people.
Heidi Murphy, 9 News.
Axed shock jock Kyle Sandilands has marched into the federal court in a bid to get his job back. Outside the hearing, he had plenty to say as well about his lucrative contract and his estranged co-star Jackie O. Tiffany Genders was there.
King Kyle off the air, but like a magnet to the microphone.
I just want to get back either to work or get back earning. I've got a family, got mortgages to pay like everyone else.
The sacked star proving he can still hold an audience as he took his fight against the owners of Kiss FM to the federal court. His fight with Jackie O on February 20, ending radio's longest and most lucrative partnership.
That's not fair. But it's actually true. You're off with the fairies with. Tell me where.
I haven't been able to speak with Jackie contrary to popular reporting. We've had blow-ups before. her on me, me on her. We just get over it usually. So I think this has all turned into quite a circus.
Sandilands claims it was part of his contract to be controversial. He wants his job back or $85 million. Breakfast show or not, he's a man of the people.
Come around, vaccination people, come around. Hello, mate, how are you? Nice. Oh, babe, I'm so sorry. We shouldn't be forced to do anything we don't want to do. I'm having these discussions because this is what I'd normally be doing on the radio, and I'm not doing it.
Kyle's legal team wants to confine this case to that fateful 20 minutes, saying this is not an occasion for a royal commission into the radio star and his history. His employer, on the other hand, wants to drum up the past.
You can drum up the past, you can bring up whoever you want, like, at the end of the day, was it misconduct or not misconduct?
Until the judge decides, the pre-dawn alarm has been replaced with dad duties.
Because I've been getting up early, I've been feeding him wheat mix, and my wife gets up and she said, why are you feeding him? And she said he's been able to feed himself for a year and a half.
Tiffany Genders, 9 News.
Tropical Cyclone Narelle has barreled down the northwest coast of WA, tearing through popular tourist towns. Rachel Clifford is in Exmouth for us. Rachel, the Category 4 system has unleashed her fury.
She did, Alicia, bringing very destructive winds and heavy rains. Narelle passed Exmouth a little earlier this morning, and just taking a look from underneath our carport, you can see some of the destruction she brought behind us yesterday. This was a frangipani tree and it's now been flattened. The tourist town has been hit hard, with several homes without power, homes also flooding, including our accommodation this morning. We woke up to what felt like a lake inside of our kitchen. We've spent the day mopping that up and protecting our property. So far, I can tell you that 5 homes have been destroyed, their roofs either completely ripped off or partially ripped off. One boat in the estuary has also sunk, with 12 calls to SES for help. Take a listen to what one of the residents said.
Anything could have happened at any time, but we also knew that people in the same street didn't have roofs over their head, and the wind was so strong.
Exmouth saw 250 km/h wind gusts and 300 millimetres of rain today. That was a year's worth of rain in just 12 hours. Right now, Narelle is crossing the Coral Bay. We'll continue to bring you the latest. Alicia.
Just extraordinary. OK, Rachel, thank you.
Donald Trump says he's suspending strikes on Iran's energy infrastructure for 10 days because talks with Tehran are going well. The US president claims the pause was requested by the rogue nation after taking a swipe at Australian and European allies for not joining the fight. Hannah Sinclair reports.
A Donald Trump deal on the table.
They are begging to make a deal, not me. They're begging to make a deal.
As the war of narratives between America and Iran ramps up.
Nobody's a match for the United States, but they're not a match for the United States. It's small potatoes.
Special Envoy Steve Witkoff confirming the US has presented 15 points for peace to the regime.
This has been circulated through the Pakistani government, acting as the mediator. And this has resulted in strong and positive messaging in talks.
Iranian media reporting there have been indirect talks, but senior officials won't call them negotiations.
I say they're lousy fighters, but they're great negotiators.
Israel claiming it's killed IRGC Navy commander Ali Reza Tangsiri, believed to have been responsible for overseeing the closure of the Strait of Hormuz.
Not only do they not have a Navy, Mr. President, they no longer have a Navy commander.
The shipping passage tonight being dubbed the Tehran toll booth, amid claims Iran's charging ships for safe transit. The US president says some oil tankers have been let through as a sign of good faith, as he considers whether to seize the regime's own supply. In his first cabinet meeting since launching Operation Epic Fury, the US president singled out allies on the sidelines.
Australia was not great. I was a little surprised by Australia.
There is no request being made to Australia that has not been agreed to.
We were very disappointed with NATO because NATO has done absolutely nothing.
The United States, under this president, is doing stuff which is quite crucial for the alliance.
Donald Trump also criticising the UK, describing British warships as toys that don't compare to America's arsenal, as the Pentagon reportedly considers diverting military aid meant for Ukraine to the Middle East.
When I heard the head of Germany say, this is not our war about Iran, I said, well, Ukraine's not our war, we helped.
Time also apparently on America's side.
In Trump time, a day, you know what it is? That's an eternity.
In London, Hannah Sinclair, 9 News.
The state government is pushing for a real wage increase for our lowest paid workers, urging the Fair Work Commission to consider the inflation rate in its minimum wage decision. But Industrial Relations Minister Jacqueline Symes refused to put a figure on what her government wants.
What I do support is a real wage increase. Whether 5% is what the Fair Work Commission lands on is a matter for them. We have not put a figure on it, but we want it to ensure that people are not going backwards.
The minister also revealed the government's made the case for a special pay boost for apprentices.
A man has been arrested accused of fleeing police and attempting to hide inside a shopping centre skip bin. The Air Wing tracked the 40-year-old to Carrum Downs, where officers on the ground lifted the lid on his escape plan.
No, it's a cardboard bin. He's lucky it was emptied because he wouldn't have fit otherwise. I've never heard of it before, ever. I've been retail all my life.
The Dandenong fugitive was first spotted allegedly driving erratically through the southeastern suburbs this morning.
So the AFL has now admitted to a crucial error in last night's Geelong-Adelaide clash, gifting Cats midfielder Tom Atkins a free kick at a critical stage of the game. Tony Jones joins us from Marvel Stadium tonight ahead of course, the Collingwood Giants clash. TJ, this is another early season blunder.
Yeah, it's not ideal anytime the AFL admits to a fault, and the other blunder, the more recent one you mentioned, is of course last week when 30 seconds went missing from the St Kilda Giants game. Owen Leonard joins me now to talk about this latest error. Take us through it.
Well, it all happened pretty quickly, but the ball came off the boot of Geelong's Tom Atkins. So as we know, under the new last disposal rule, that should have been a free kick to the Crows. But Atkins claimed the ball, the umpire paid him the free kick. Geelong go on with the play and 40 seconds later kick a crucial goal to Jack Martin and end up winning that game. So the AFL has actually released a statement conceding the mistake, saying the ball came into play before the ARC, which is the review system, had time to intervene on the last disposal free kick. If the ARC did intervene, the decision would have been overturned. The AFL will look at its late in game process and the ability to potentially hold play to get the correct outcome. So we'll see what comes of that.
The problem is, though, we don't want to have a video review every time there's a sort of contentious out of bounds, do we? I mean, the game's trying to speed up.
Well, we know the league's trying to speed up, and I think it's across the league, people would agree that the best thing to do is not to sort of labour on these decisions. But when it's late in a game like this and the implications are so high, I think the AFL does need to, in their words, look at their late in game process and get the correct outcome.
Quick word on tonight's game?
Oh, you'd have to back Collingwood at home, I think, TJ.
All right, and you were down at Arden Street today too.
Yep, there's a big story coming up. It's the kangaroo versus the possum, so tune into that one.
You'll explain all a little later on in sport. Intriguing, guys. It's back to you for the moment.
I don't notice you've got a record in your hand there, Tony. You normally steal it off that poor kid at the MCG. How'd you go at Marvel?
No, it was actually that lady down there. I took it off. So, no, it's all good.
We'll see you soon, Tony. Thank you. After the break in 9 News, Melbourne billionaire Adrian Portelli cleared over his company's illegal lotteries.
Youth crime and waning resources, the issues weighing most on our frontline police.
Dueling protests in New York as the former Venezuelan president fights for release.
And transgender athletes banned from women's events at the Olympics.
The company owned by Adrian Portelli has been fined $40,000 for running illegal lotteries in South Australia. The billionaire wasn't in an Adelaide court where a magistrate found him not guilty of assisting in that conduct. His lawyers say the company, LMCT, was never set up to rip off customers and that he wants to keep operating it as a legitimate business.
A survey of thousands of rank-and-file police officers has revealed how demoralised they are. Youth crime, dwindling resources and skyrocketing workloads remain their biggest concerns, with the union comparing the state of the force to the Titanic. Ollie Haig has the details.
Guns drawn in one suburb and violent home invasions in another. This is how Melbourne looked just this week.
It's desperate out there for our members trying to keep crime at bay.
A survey of 2,000 police union members revealing what it's really like on the front line. A staggering 8 in 10 identified youth crime as a key drain on their time. The same number believed resourcing and staffing has gone backwards, as well as criminal justice policies and community protection, while 7 in 10 said government support for police has also decreased.
They come to work doing their best to fight crime, but then they watch offenders win the day.
And it's senior police among the most unhappy.
This Labor government has been weak on crime and weak on the laws that should keep young offenders behind bars.
The Premier acknowledging there's problems, but insists
We have the largest policing force in the nation.
Telling them that is like telling Victorians today that it's not raining. It's raining outside. They know it. They're getting wet.
The scathing assessment comes less than a day after Victoria Police revealed it's doubled the number of patrols in the CBD. A move the union says will come at the expense of the suburbs and do little to address the record shortage of officers.
It's sort of robbing Peter to pay Paul, moving chairs around on the Titanic.
No doubt there are some challenges, there's vacancies, and we are working incredibly hard.
Ollie Haig, 9 News.
Former Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and his wife have faced a Manhattan court in their fight to be released from the United States. The ousted leader's team is attempting to use Venezuelan government money, restricted by sanctions, to fund its defence. It's almost 3 months since the US captured the couple from their compound and laid narco-terrorism charges.
The International Olympic Committee has ruled transgender athletes will no longer be able to compete in female events. The ban will come into force at the 2028 LA Games, with a one-time genetic test required to verify biological eligibility. Currently, international sporting federations come up with their own guidelines.
US Breakfast TV host Savannah Guthrie says it's too much to bear that her mother may have been kidnapped because of her. 84-year-old Nancy vanished from her home in Arizona more than 50 days ago. Savannah's first interview was today, aired on the program she usually hosts.
So sorry. If it is me, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
The Guthrie family has offered $1 million reward for information.
The LaGuardia runway, where a deadly collision between a plane and a fire truck took place earlier this week, has now reopened. The crash killed the 2 pilots on board and injured more than 40 crew and passengers. The wrecks have now been removed from the tarmac, with investigators releasing the aircraft back to Air Canada.
Wearing military fatigues and a beret, the Prince of Wales has paid a visit to the Mercian Regiment in southwest England. In his role as Colonel-in-Chief, the future King met troops who'd recently returned from Estonia before sitting down with women of the infantry to discuss the issues that they face.
Well, if you are looking to brighten up your weekend, and we probably need to after today, the Melbourne International Flower and Garden Show is on at the Royal Exhibition Building, and that is where we find Scherri-Lee Biggs. How's it looking, Sherry?
Well, look, Alicia, if there's one thing a garden loves, it's rain, and there's been plenty of it today. And if there's one thing I love, it's a high tea, and it is all happening here at the show. Now, I have the event director, Trent Cornish, here with me. Now, Trent, this is the biggest flower and garden show in the Southern Hemisphere. So what can people actually see here?
Well, we have some of Australia's finest floral and garden designers, so the quality this year is amazing. The plants and flowers are beyond what we've seen before, and people are out enjoying it. So the gardens are full, they're going to be lit up tonight, and we're super excited.
Now, you can see things from, the exhibition gardens right to just something that you can put in your own backyard. So is there things for, first-time gardeners, and can we pick up some skills ourselves?
Yeah, well, any true gardener knows you've got to get your hands dirty at times. So there's plenty of that. There's lots of design tips and tricks that you can get with the latest innovation in some of our competitions, and there's something for everyone to learn.
Now, what's a highlight for people who are coming here to the show that you think you just simply cannot miss?
Two that come to mind. There's an apple in bloom. It's a tart collab we've done with Tarts and On. You can only get it here. It's absolutely delicious. And the second one is we've actually got a wedding happening right now. So there's a garden built just for hosting weddings. It looks immaculate with the Royal Exhibition Building as the backdrop.
What do you guys not have? Well, thank you so much for catching up with me. Kids under 16 get in for free, and from tomorrow, full price adult ticket is $36, but you could spend the entire day here, trust me. The rain will ease across the weekend, and I'll have that forecast coming up soon.
All right, dig in, Sherry. We'll see you shortly. Coming up next, united by tragedy 4 decades apart. Constable Angela Taylor's mum embraced by the parents of another slain police officer.
More shame for Sarah Ferguson, stripped of another title.
Hundreds of tonnes of sand transformed into dragons and mythical creatures in Frankston.
And Melbourne Zoo's new snow leopard cubs finally given some names. A suspicious blaze has torn through a Black Rock home, causing it to collapse. The house was already engulfed in flames when firefighters arrived at 2:30 this morning, prompting them to use a large volume of water to attack the flames and prevent them from spreading to neighbouring properties. Thankfully, no one was injured.
Meanwhile, residents were forced to flee as a Cheltenham home went up in flames. The blaze spread to a garage, but crews were able to bring it under control before it could impact adjoining homes. The cause of the fire is still being investigated.
40 years on, police have paused to remember one of Melbourne's darkest days, the Russell Street bombing. It was a sombre service that also honoured Angela Taylor, the young constable who died. Her parents joined by the family of one of the officers killed in Porpunka. Crime reporter Gillian Lantouris.
Angela Rose Taylor, the first Australian policewoman to make the ultimate sacrifice. Today at 1 p.m, she was remembered.
Her loss has left a void which no other might ever fill.
1 p.m, 40 years ago, a car bomb exploded on Russell Street outside the former police headquarters in the CBD. The blast injured 21 people, and tragically nearly a month later, Angela Taylor died in hospital. She had just been out to get lunch when she was hurt.
Angela's with me every day. There's not one day I don't wish I had a daughter.
Today's service emceed by Deborah Richardson, who was the same age as Angela when her life changed by the blasts.
There was many more that have carried the psychological scars, myself included.
A poignant moment, two mothers sharing the same pain. The parents of Senior Constable Vidin Devor-Hattar, shot dead in Porpunka last year, came to pay respects from overseas. The Angela Rose Taylor Rose Garden sits here at the Police Academy. It's not only here to honour and remember her, but also the 178 officers killed in the line of duty.
That heinous criminal event did change us, but it made us such a strong organisation.
And it's now a day and a young woman that is woven into Melbourne's history forever. Gillian Lantouris, 9 News.
Sarah Ferguson has had her honorary Freedom of the City of York stripped after councillors in the English city voted unanimously to remove the title. It follows increasing concerns over her friendship with late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Fergie and Andrew Mountbatten Windsor were awarded the honour a year after they married.
Frankston's waterfront has been transformed into an enchanted realm with fairies, dragons and elves, all chiselled out of sand. Artists from around the world are bringing their designs to life in Australia's biggest ever sand sculpting championship. Penelope Leash has this report.
They're by the beach, but they're a world apart from most sandcastles.
Every sculpture in the competition is using 15 tonnes of sand.
And not the type you find on the shore. The bricky sand is quarried from Langwarrin and carved over 4 days to create a 360-degree artwork, based on this year's theme, the Enchanted Realm.
This is the water fairy with the jellyfish dress, and she's kind of playing with a big humpback whale. I had to first say a big collapse, like the whole wing came off.
It's the second year the Australian Sand Sculpting Championships have been held at Frankston after moving south from the Gold Coast. And while one display is outside, the competition works are always protected by a marquee.
The weather is not a friend when you're working with sand.
Having the grit to handle different conditions, however, is part of the job.
When I was younger, I started to carve snow back in Quebec, in Canada. Just before here, I was in Sweden to do an ice bar in Stockholm, and then I jumped straight to sand here in Australia.
Despite time ticking down, you can almost hear a pin drop on this work site as the sculptors add their finishing touches. And despite all the time and detail that's gone into these works of art, when the exhibition ends, it will all turn back into piles of sand.
We actually have quite a few people sometimes will say, oh, where are these going to next? They actually think that we box them up and transport them. They don't actually understand how fragile they are.
The sands of time aren't running down just yet. The sculptures are on show for the next month. Penelope Liege, 9 News.
Melbourne Zoo's new snow leopard cubs have had their first public outing as their names were announced after suggestions from zoo members. Keepers settled on Maya, Kira, Lumi and Sabu, all inspired by locations in the Himalayas. The 2 females and 2 males were born in January, with their different personalities starting to show through a bit as they were checked by the vets. The playful siblings also beginning to explore their enclosure.
Very cute indeed. All right, still to come for you tonight. 2 people arrested after more than 1,000 cannabis plants were found in Melbourne's northwest.
Why the pineapple... Drug squad police have charged 2 people and seized more than 1,000 cannabis plants from a crop at a house in Delahaye in Melbourne's northwest. A 41-year-old Vietnamese man was arrested for the second time after earlier failing to appear on other drugs charges. A 39-year-old Vietnamese woman was also arrested and charged over the haul.
To finance for you, and higher mortgage rates are now kicking in, while one Australian banknote is shining as the undisputed champion, head and shoulders above the rest. Chris Kohler explains.
Today's the day last week's interest rate rise hits households. 3 of the big 4 banks lifted their variable rates by the full 0.25% today. Westpac will follow suit on Tuesday. The new rates are now hovering around 6%, which will feel like a lot given the average new mortgage is about $700,000. Over on the share market, investors saw a steady day today, but a solid week overall, up 1% since Monday. The Australian dollar is buying 69 US cents and close to 60 euro cents. And finally, where are all the $50 notes? You don't see them that much in shops anymore, but according to the RBA, there are almost 1 billion of them in circulation. In fact, there are almost as many $50 notes as there are 5s, 10s, 20s and 100s combined. So pineapples are the banknote of choice to be stashed away in a safe, under a mattress or maybe buried in the backyard. I'll leave that to your imagination.
Thank you, Chris. Fear of concussion is prompting parents to take extreme action, stopping their children from playing sport. A study found more than a quarter of kids over the age of 4 were prevented from taking part in a contact sport at some point due to the threat of head injuries. Experts say the benefits of physical activity outweigh the risks of concussion.
Triple Premiership Collingwood legend Les Hughes has been brought back to life by his great-grandson. The star ruckman, known as Flapper, last played in the 1920s, but is now greeting students at Deakin University as an AI avatar. Owen Leonard has the story.
Officially, Les Hughes died in 1962, but in Deakin's Burwood Library, he's alive in a different form.
How do you think you would go playing in 2026?
I'd have to adapt to the modern style, of course. But the fundamentals of footy, teamwork, hard work and playing fair never change.
I was able to resurrect my great-grandfather.
Flapper played 225 games from 1908 to 1922, winning 3 flags and captaining Victoria.
I've gathered information from family members to determine what his personality was like, and the answers are filtered through that personality profile, so hopefully we're getting an accurate, or arguably accurate, version of the man himself.
And he was accomplished off the field, owner of the Royal Derby Social Club in Fitzroy.
Les was probably one of the first celebrity publicans in Melbourne.
Sharing his tip for tonight's clash with GWS.
The Magpies, of course. Collingwood's got a rich history of fighting spirit and determination.
Flapper is happy to chat about anything, connecting with those getting to know him best.
It's unbelievable how you tend to build a relationship with him. Now, he died when I was 2 years old and I never really met him, but I feel as though I know him well now.
Les Hughes remains the second oldest player in Collingwood history. He played until he was 38 years and 144 days old. A century later, Scott Pendlebury is just 68 days away from overtaking Flapper's record.
Scott Pendlebury is a remarkable it's an honour to see someone of his calibre carry the torch forward.
Owen Leonard, 9 News.
Hey. All right, returning to Marvel Stadium with sport. Tony Jones.
Yes, thank you, Tom. Thank you, Alicia. It is a big game here tonight for both of these sides. Collingwood and GWS will check in with the Pies after the break. Also coming up tonight, it's the Battle of the Battlers, and Clarko is certainly up for the fight. The Vicks weather the storm in the Shield final at Junction Oval, and how Oscar plans to break his season duck in Japan. Welcome back to Marvel Stadium. I dare say the fans making their way inside are grateful this match is being played inside. Very windy and a little bit on the chilly side as well. Of course, for the Giants, the weather is completely irrelevant. They've played 3 games this season, 1 win, 2 losses. And if ever you're going to prove yourself in terms of a comeback, then it's going to be against Collingwood, who also have a point to prove tonight, that being they are no modern-day version of Dad's Army. A little earlier on, we checked in on the Pies camp. Well, Hayden, the back line obviously bolstered with the return of Darcy Moore and also Jeremy Howe.
Yeah, it's great to have those guys back. Both were pretty close last game, but you know, with the bye last week, we thought we'd give them the bye and give them an extra 2 weeks to get right. But yeah, great inclusions for us.
Just need some goals up forward, don't you? Who are they going to come from tonight?
Yeah, and like always, probably a spread of goal kickers. We need obviously Nick and Geordie and these guys, our mids getting forward. But yeah, hopefully our forward line with Jamie Elliott and the likes can kick enough to score.
The big fella Oscar Steen debuting tonight. Might we see him up forward at stages?
Yeah, him and Darcy Cameron spent some time forward. Oscar's really good in the centre bound, so we see him in there a lot. But yeah, he's been a great story. He's had some injuries, but it's great for him to get this opportunity.
Good luck tonight, mate.
Thank you.
More footy, and North Melbourne coach Alistair Clarkson has warned his players they'll need to absorb the pressure tomorrow night against the Bombers. The Kangaroos, well, they welcome back gun midfielder George Wardlaw, but his preparation has been interrupted by a possum. Owen Leonard explains.
No longer hampered by his hamstring, George Wardlaw instead having problems with a possum.
You're telling me he had a possum that was disturbing his sleep last night, so hope that's not the case tonight, so I'll have to get this possum catcher there tonight.
The on-baller will return on limited minutes. Tom Powell also not 100%, completing a fitness test as he manages lower back stiffness.
He just needed to do some work on the grass, but yeah, he's good to go.
Hostilities beginning, this brave fan in enemy territory.
Up the Bombers.
Clarkson expecting their best.
Particularly this week when the team's got their back to the wall, it's just like be ready to absorb the pressure that's coming early in the game.
The last time the Kangaroos beat Essendon was way back in 2016. Ironically, Brad Scott was at the helm at North Melbourne at the time. Now he's coaching for his career against them.
Don't think it's as much about that as, you know, hoodoos and all that sort of stuff as much as he's just trying to get our club back on the winning list again.
No issues between Charlie Comben and Tristan Sherry after 9 News revealed their scuffle earlier in the week.
They're just mucking around in a handball game and they're having a crack at each other, so a bit of fun.
And Charlie Curnow has hit back at Nine's own Matthew Lloyd and questioned the Big Swan's ability to take big marks.
I think I'm doing a lot of great things and I'm looking at what's real from my game, and yeah, of course I'd love to take a few more big marks, and I might have to send Lloydie a message when I take a couple.
The full Curnow interview airs on Wide World of Sports on Sunday. Owen Leonard, 9 News.
Cricket now in Victoria has pushed through, well, what you could describe as a shaky start to its first session with the bat in the Sheffield Shield final against South Australia. Campbell Callaway top scoring for the Vicks with 29, but it was skipper Will Sutherland who dominated with the ball earlier in the day. Trent Neese with the day's highlights.
At 3 for 55, the Victorians had South Australia exactly where they wanted them. But with 2 Aussie batsmen at the crease, Nathan McSweeney and Alex Carey, danger still loomed.
Punched down the ground by Carey. Nice shot. Real chase for Elliott down towards the rope, and I reckon the ball will win. It will.
Carey would depart for just 26. The weather looming as a threat to stop play, but the danger man with the bat was Jake Lehmann. He made 10 before being caught at gully.
Straight to gully.
McSweeney raising the bat at 50. Only 2 more runs would be added to his final tally. And who else but Scott Boland to claim the prize scalp.
Edge and taken. Harper dives across.
At 9 for 189, the umpires declared Melbourne's rain was too much and play stopped. It resumed for just 11 more balls before again the covers came on. But once the skies finally opened up, So too did Liam Scott.
If the Sackers make another 2 runs, well, they won't, because Will Sutherland has bowled Liam Scott.
The Vic set 198 to chase in the first innings, and Sam Harper wasn't in a mood to muck around.
And there you go. Innovative and explosive.
He eventually fell for only 20 runs, Dylan Brasher going moments later, as did Peter Hanscom. Victoria, all of a sudden, in a world of pain themselves, at 3 for 48.
Edging and gone! Manenzi!
Campbell Callaway went for 29, the Vics 4 for 110 at stumps on day 2. Trent Neese, 9 News.
Melbourne Storm might be facing the Cowboys tomorrow night up in Townsville, but coach Craig Bellamy still isn't over last week's loss to the Broncos. Bellamy declaring his side hasn't learned its lesson from last year's grand final loss. If the Storm win, they'll jump to the top of the NRL ladder. Oscar Piastri is looking for a season first this weekend in Japan, that being actually making it to the start line. Having to sit out the first 2 races, largely because of mechanical issues, Piastri got through the first 2 practices in Japan today, finishing 4th in the first practice session and 1st in practice 2. And the young Aussie under absolutely no illusions as to what his aim is at Suzuka.
We'll try and at least see the lights come on this week and go from there. But yeah, I think we kind of know where we sit in the pecking order. So there's, we're not expecting too many surprises there.
Piastri's best finish at the Japanese Grand Prix is 3rd. So there you go, guys. That wraps it up from Marvel Stadium. As I said, very, very wintry conditions for this match. So fortunately for the fans, it is inside. And yeah, let's just keep our fingers crossed that Oscar makes it to the start line this week.
Yeah, absolutely, Tony. Have a great weekend. Thank you. Let's go back to all the colour of the Flower and Garden Show now, where we find Sherri. A few showers are going to linger into the weekend, Sherri.
Well, only to start, Alicia, but the showers should ease back and it will be cool and cloudy. Our sunny days aren't too far away either. I'll have the full forecast coming up next.
9 News is the place to turn for the moments that matter.
Real hopes are being raised.
Keep yourself informed with the free 9 News app. Watch breaking news when it happens, wherever you are.
9 News can reveal...
Get news alerts when you need them most. 9 News is your news on the 9 News app.
Hello again. Well, if you are looking for something to do on your Friday, the Melbourne International Flower and Garden Show is open here at the Royal Exhibition Building until 9 o'clock tonight. Or you could pop in this weekend. I've got the beautiful girls here from Cedar Collective behind me and they are just pumping out the tunes tonight. Now, it was chilly today. We only managed a top of 17 degrees in the city, feeling closer to 12 at the time with that icy wind. It was even cooler north of the city, 16 degrees reached in Essendon and 15 in Tullamarine. Now today that cold front pushed offshore and deepened into a low pressure system impacting Victoria's east. There is still a severe weather warning current there. 62 millimetres fell in Chandler's Creek today with a moderate flood warning issued for Genoa River. It's driven gusty winds as well, which pushed to 119 kilometres an hour in Malakuta and a top of just 18 degrees reached there today. Now tomorrow that low will shift further east, but a southerly breeze will still see showers and some breezy conditions for some of the state, including Melbourne. Looking ahead around the country, Perth is feeling the effects of Cyclone Narelle. Tomorrow that could see 100 millimetres of rain through this evening, and tomorrow Sydney maybe a sprinkling in the morning and just a top of 23 tomorrow. Back here in Victoria, the cold sending us a chilly night. Most towns will dip into the single digits, even sub-zero in the Alps, but north of the ranges expecting just cloud, and it is slowly warming, 22 degrees along the Murray. Certainly still a cool day ahead across the suburbs, only a few making it to 20 degrees or just over, and an onshore breeze will still take some patchy showers through Melbourne. Looking a little bit breezy in Geelong late afternoon and a little bit damp in the morning. That will ease by lunchtime, collecting 4 millimetres at most and heading for a top top of 20. A bit more rain for the city though. A round of showers early morning will linger into the early afternoon, adding 10 millimetres to the gauge and heading for a top of 19 degrees, but feeling a few degrees cooler with a chilly breeze. Sunday will be mostly cloudy, slight risk of a sprinkling in the morning and only a touch warmer at 20 degrees. Then we're in for a string of sunny days. A fresh Monday morning, but our days are starting to warm to 28 Tuesday and Wednesday. Showers only set to return this time next week. So a wet first half of the day tomorrow before it starts to ease off, but make sure you get down here to the Flower and Garden Show. How perfect is the song Flowers?
What about those moves? Well, she's Friday night ready, folks. Good stuff, Sherri.
La, 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 la.
Thank you very much. That is 9 News for this Friday. Ali is next with the current affair.
We hope you have a wonderful weekend. For now, good night.